who is a former deputy campaign director for Mitt Romney, sending out a vicious, to me, it was a vicious attack on you, and reaching to your wife. Then the exchange with you and Senator Cruz, an exchange of threats, if you will. An extraordinary display. Are you going to continue, and I've heard you answer this 100 times with probably 100 different people, but it seems to me that this is one in which, when wives are brought into this, it requires a different approach altogether. I want to just get your thoughts about how you're going to proceed from here and what you think the standard should be.
Well, you know, I'm glad you asked me the question because I thought it was terrible. First of all, it's GQ magazine,
right,
which is a very mainstream, nice magazine. Right. You know, it's a good magazine. And they had my wife on my wife was a very, very successful model, like really successful, and beautiful woman and all. And she did a shoot for GQ, and I think it was a cover shoot or whatever. It was a cover picture. But it was a, you know, good issue, very successful issue, and it was a shoot for GQ magazine. So Ted Cruz, knowingly, I mean, he said he didn't know, but that's, again, why I call him Lying Ted. Ted Cruz, knowingly, in my opinion, had this article sent all over Utah, had the picture saying, you know, is this what you want? Essentially, is this what you want for a first lady? First of all, she'd be a great first lady, and she's very smart. Right. And you've seen her being interviewed recently, and frankly, she'd be outstanding. But again, as a model, she did shoots, and that, you know, like all of the models, they do. That's what they do. I mean, it's one of those things. And it was, you know, it was framed in such a way like it was really a terrible thing, and it was sent to a certain group, and I thought it was disgraceful. And Ted Cruz knew about it. Just like Ted Cruz knew, and he denied it, that when during Iowa he said that Ben Carson has quit the race. He's quit the race. He's out of the race. Take my people and vote for me, Ted Cruz, because Ben Carson has left and he is out of the race. Now, he knew about that. And immediately after the election ended, he called Ben Carson and apologized. Well, that didn't help Ben Carson because Ben lost a lot of votes. And frankly, I would have won Iowa, I think, if that didn't happen, because he took a lot of votes away from me. I mean, you know, he added a lot of votes to himself, which he shouldn't have been able. But he lied about it. Well, you're doing pretty well. He lied about this too.
You're doing pretty well despite that. But to my question about a standard here, are you going to assert a standard? Because of the bringing in wives of candidates is so unseemly.
I agree with you. Oh, I agree with you. I mean, I wrote, I said, be careful, because otherwise I'll have to start talking about, you know, your situation. Now, do I like doing that? No. Should that have been done by him? And he knew absolutely about it. I mean, think of it, Lou. He doesn't know that this is being sent and earmarked to a certain group in Utah. Give me a break. I mean, he knew all about it.
Well, first, I will tell you, I think that any super PAC working for any candidate, it should be held, the candidate should be held accountable, and there is no question of the relationship of the people running this super PAC, the money that they are receiving, and from whom. So I think that responsibility is usually clear. I've got to ask you,
these people, just to finish it, but these people worked for Romney, as I understand it, and Romney is with Cruz, and so they all knew about it, and Romney's no better than they are. You know, Romney's a guy who ran a terrible campaign. He choked like a dog. He choked absolutely like a dog. That was a campaign that should have been won easily, and he was unable to do it. He quit. He quit, and he just, that last month, and you remember it better than I do because you had to cover it, he quit. And Obama won an election that Obama never should have won. And now Romney is, you know, trying to. I don't know what his problem is, but he's got some big problems. But Romney knew about it, and Cruz knew about it, and it was inappropriate. And some people thought it was actually a fine picture. It was fine. It was a cover of GQ. So what are you going to do?
Exactly. And I want to turn to, as we wrap up here, I've just got to. I'd like to get a sense. I think our audience would like to get a sense from you. You are now confronting not only your opponents in the field, you're confronting the national liberal media. You are being, you are being attacked by what have become junkyard dogs from every quarter, including the establishment, the GOP elites, who are also going to be setting the rules for the convention. They're going to be running the convention and will, in effect, have the fate of the nominee in their hands if you don't have 1,237 delegates. What are your thoughts as you're going through this battle? Because it is, I can only begin to imagine what it's like to be hit so often from so many quarters by those who one would expect in normal circumstances would actually be supporting.
Well, it's an amazing thing. You know, I won Florida in a landslide, and yet $38 million of negative attack ads were put on me by the Republicans. These weren't the liberals. These were Republicans that put them on. Club for Growth, who wanted me to give them $1 million. And when I said no, they went negative on me, like extortion. Some of these groups that did, I mean, they spent $38 million in a short period of time, like in a 2-week period, and I won in a landslide. I'm even wondering, are ads worthwhile? Hey, Lou, when you see that, and then you see that I beat Marco Rubio, who is going to be the face of the Republican Party, by 20 points, it was actually, you almost have to question, what does an ad mean? Why are people spending money on ads? But it is very, very disconcerting when I've added millions and millions of people. And as you know, because you cover it well, the biggest story in politics today is the millions of additional people that are voting for the Republicans. And by the way, the Democrats are down 35%. The Republicans, some states are up over 100%, you know, turning out for the primaries. And these are people, some people never voted before, many people that are Democrats that are coming over, and many independents. And they should embrace that. And if they don't embrace it, they're going to lose the election, because the Republicans, a normal Republican cannot win an election because structurally it doesn't allow you to win an election. So they're going to have another Democrat president, and that president is going to pick 4 or 5 Supreme Court justices who are very liberal, and that's going to be the end of our country as we know it. It'll be a disaster. So you would think they would embrace what's happening, because millions and millions of people, you saw it last night in Arizona, where people are standing 5 abreast on lines trying to get in. Yeah, trying to get in to vote for me. They wanted to vote for me. And you would think that the Republicans would embrace it. And I'll add Michigan, I'll add New York, I'll add states that never will, they wouldn't even campaign in, and I think these are states that I'm going to win. So it's a very sad thing. It's very sad to watch, actually.
How about Wisconsin?
I think we'll do well in Wisconsin. I mean, I hope to do well in Wisconsin, and we should do well there. But, you know, they're spending millions and millions of dollars on ads. Yeah. And honestly, if somebody else would get this, you know, it's almost like, how do you pick somebody that's gotten millions of less votes? I have 3 million more votes than anybody else, which is a massive amount. I mean, that's like more than voted last time. Right. How do you pick somebody that had millions of less votes? Because a little bit to 1237, I think we're going to get there. Well, but don't forget, Lou, I've been running against 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. No. So how do you get 1,237, which is half? How do you get 1,237 when you've had to beat all of these additional people? So it's a little bit unfair. Some comfort for you in that. In the newest Fox poll, just about 60% of Republican voters believe the person with the most delegates going into that convention should be the nominee. Donald, that's great. Donald Trump, thanks for spending your time with us. We appreciate it. Thanks so much. Thank you very much, Luke. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. They were rivals mere weeks ago, but now Senator Ted Cruz receiving the backing of former Governor Jeb Bush. The Bush endorsement adds to the growing list of establishment figures rallying behind Cruz, including his brother Neil Bush, who's on the Finance Committee for Senator Cruz, leaving little doubt who they want as candidate for president. But Donald Trump's lead in delegates is formidable, and Trump only widened the lead after last night's elections. Joining us now, former Republican presidential candidate, retired neurosurgeon. That just sounds so funny to me, because I will always think of him first and foremost as an incredible neurosurgeon, Dr. Ben Carson. He endorsed Donald Trump earlier this month, and we are delighted to have you with us. Well, thank you, Lou. It's always good to be on your show. Let's turn to the tone of this debate, whatever you want to call it, presidential dialogue. I was offended by Paul Ryan trying to play arbiter for the Republican Party. I thought he was insinuating. He was using innuendo. He was being oblique when a man should be straightforward if he's got something to say, in my judgment. What is your reaction? Well, my reaction in general is that this is such an incredibly important election that the candidates should be talking about what is it that distinguishes them from others. What is their policy? You know,
as I was in the process early on, it was so hard to get anybody to talk about policy. They just wanted to talk about each other.
Well, it didn't get any better later, did it?
And you know, the level of maturity that is manifested, or lack of maturity, is really quite appalling when you consider the kinds of problems that we're facing in our country right now. Does anyone talk about the fiscal gap?
Right.
No. Most people have no idea what you're even talking about.
In all seriousness, Donald Trump has spent more time talking about $19 trillion than any other candidate outside of one who has since withdrawn from the field.
That's true. And I did try to stick to the issues, and you see where it got me. So.
Well, what's that old saying? You know, that if you can't give a very good sermon if you don't keep them in the pews. And it's a very delicate balance. I mean, I commiserate with you in what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I find
we've reached the Roman Colosseum stage, where Rome is burning and nobody cares. Let's just go to the Colosseum and let's see the gladiators fight and let's see the tigers tear people apart. Yeah. You know, this is where we are today.
Yeah, I resist that, because I think that certainly the analog with the Roman Empire is altogether too apt. But I also see men like yourself. Donald Trump is the only person in this thing who will be taking a pay cut if he wins. Right. He's now the only person who is not a career politician in the field.
Yeah, and I've had a chance.
That speaks
highly of. I've had a chance to sit down and have a heart-to-heart conversation with him, and he really does care about America. He really does want us to be successful, and he also wants to be successful. He wants to be a successful president. So he's not going to be doing crazy stuff, believe me. Yeah. He's going to surround himself with people who really know how to get things done. And he's not going to try to micromanage everything. If you think about it, the Trump empire is huge.
Right.
And it's very successful, and there are a lot of people involved. And believe me, he doesn't micromanage them. And I've had a chance to talk to a lot of his employees and former employees. It's very hard to find anybody who has anything bad to say about him. That tells you a lot. You look at his children and how well they